What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Career Mode. This is episode number 14. We start today's stuff by seeing that Monaco have put a bid in for one of my targets. Yes, Anthony Martial, long-term future at Manchester United. I'd say it's quite uncertain at the moment, and he was one of my targets to bring to Goodison Park as well, but Monaco putting the bid in, I thought, do you know what? I think that's a little bit more realistic, to be honest. Not that it's unrealistic, he might join Everton one day, but I always like it when a player goes back home. You know, it always feels nice, so I thought, fair enough, I'll let him go there instead. You would have seen as well, quite a few strikers on my shortlist right now. One is Romelu Lukaku as well, and I definitely could see it towards the back end of his career. I've always felt personally that Lukaku was most settled during his time at Everton. Obviously first on loan, then joined permanently as well before moving on permanently. To me, I've always felt Lukaku was most settled. He's never really had a home. You know, he's had various loan spells, and now he's on loan again back at Inter Milan. But I always felt at Everton, he was loved so much there by the fans, and I'd love to see it one day. I really, really would, but for now, a little bit out of our price range, I think. Anyway, for the first game of this episode, after a bid came in from Lukaku, decided to turn the one down there just because the destination I didn't think was realistic. Malmo, the Swedish side, not beyond the realms of possibility, but I wasn't totally certain about it. Taking on Wolves away at Molineux, heading into this game after a fantastic start to the season. 3 wins out of 3 in all competitions and back-to-back wins in the Premier League as well. Heading into this game, fell behind in the first half, but on the stroke of the hour mark, I made a big gamble this season. We didn't score that many goals last year, but I decided not to buy a new striker. I'm keeping faith with DCL, and it seems as though my faith is being rewarded. Dominic Calvert-Lewin with a fantastic chip puts us back on level terms and fires in our equaliser. The guy who got the assist, Conor Gallagher. Man, oh man, what a bromance these two are having already to start the season off. Since Wolves 1, Everton 1, to be honest, we were hanging on a bit in this game. I got really one chance through DCL and found a leveller through that counter, but other than that, didn't play very well. Wolves had more chances, and in stoppage time, Mason Holgate brought off the bench trying to shore up the defence and help us keep the draw and the point. Takes down his man. Was it a penalty? Debatable. So, yeah, I'm just going to say debatable. I didn't think it was personally, and especially after I saw the replay as well, but I call it a debatable penalty with a chance for Wolves to win at the end through Hwang Hee-chan. What's that saying? You know you love it. Ball don't lie. Yep, Pickford guesses correctly, gets low down to his right and turns it behind for a corner. I felt justice. I didn't think it was a penalty myself, and Pickford denies Hwang Hee-chan from the spot. So, yeah, final score 1-1. First game without a win this season, but I'll take that. Going away to Molineux, not an easy place to go. I'll take the point. That's not a bad result, all things considered. So, for now, we're going to do it for Lewis Gibson. I didn't think this was a realistic destination at all, so I turned it down. And also, you would have seen the 2 bids we got in the last episode of Neil Mopai. They were withdrawn. I decided not to go ahead and communicate in the end. I just decided to let them pass. Neil Mopai, I mean, I said before, I'm not a big fan of his. I don't think he's that great of a player. I don't think he was worth the money Everton spent in the summer. I think Brighton fleeced the Toffees, if I'm being honest there. But as a backup for DCL, that's all I'm asking for him this season. That's all I'm asking. DCL's off to a red hot start. It'll be my top scorer this year. I already know that for sure. All I need Mopai to do is just filling in the cup games, filling in the rare games where DCL's a little bit tired, come off the bench, use a bit of pace. That's all I'm asking for, you know. And for this season, I'm okay keeping him. Hence why I turned down a bid from Fulham as well. You would have seen as well, I did accept a bid for Lewis Gibson there. It was from Inter Miami. I thought it was, quite realistic there, playing under a former Everton player in Phil Neville, going to the MLS, but as you'll see, he turned it down annoyingly. So I'm not going to be able to sell Lewis Gibson, unfortunately. No plans for him long term here at Everton. But I did decide to make a signing on deadline day. We had around 13.5 million in the budget, and that meant, of course, I couldn't sign too many players of proper class, but I was looking for a new right back, and the reason being was very simple. We've just loaned out Nathan Patterson to Aston Villa, and right now Matt Doherty is our current starter, but he's in his 30s, as we know. His long-term future here is, I would say, unlikely. I'm sure he could stay till he retires, but at the moment he's good. He's mid to high 70 overall, but I need someone that's good enough to be backup and good enough to replace him long-term as well. There were several names on the shortlist. I'll be totally honest here. The one I really wanted was Jed Spence, but unfortunately a little bit out of my price range. But there were a couple others I was looking at, and I ended up settling on the Heron Veen fullback Milan van Uyck. Now, 22 years old. I've got to say, I don't know too much about him, but Everton have had a few Dutch players during the time at Goodison Park. I think Johnny Heitinger, Donny van der Beek in recent years. Stecklenburg was there for a brief period of time as well. But Milan van Uyck, I like the look of this guy. I really do. He's absolutely rapid. You know, we love that. He looks very good when going forward. Slight concern about the defensive stats, but if we get those up and the defensive work rate from medium to high, this guy is going to be a solid right back. And again, he's 9 years younger than Matt Doherty. And with Nathan Patterson going out on loan to Aston Villa, we need a backup right back. I said before, there's no reason why Varela couldn't fill in at right back. Ben Godfrey, you know, Mason Holgate, Connor Cody, I'm sure as well. But I wanted a proper right back as a backup for Matt Doherty. And for just over £9 million and a 2%, measly 2% sell-on clause, yeah, to me, decent fee for a good young player. Should have some alright potential as well. And as a backup for Doherty this season, but to possibly take over and start next season, I'm totally fine with that. So with a tiny bit amount of money remaining, about £3 million, I decided to buy a new third choice goalkeeper. And I want to explain why I did this as well. We know that this series is called the Realistic Career Mode, and realism is the main aim of the game. Now, if you'd have remembered last season, I was talking about homegrown players and why they're so vital, and why I decided to extend the contract of Tom Davies. Now, obviously in FIFA Career Mode, it's not a game which has a lot of depth to it, and therefore, homegrown registration rules are non-existent. You can have a team full of foreign nationals that have never spent a minute in the country they're now playing in and have never played in your academy, and it won't matter at all. Squad registration rules are not a thing in FIFA Career Mode, but if we're doing this series realistically, then we are going to try and, you know, take care of the homegrown quota, if you will. And with Everton, you know, they've always had a decent record of producing young talents, but many of them are left over the years. Obviously, we sold Anthony Gordon to Newcastle last year for the realism as well. We don't have too many in the squad right now, and obviously, I want to make sure that if we ever do get to Europe, we can hit the homegrown trained at club criteria, and that is a minimum of 4 players trained at the club between the ages of 15 to 21 for a minimum of 3 years. And that means if you sign a young player, they need to be 18 or under in order for them to be trained at 3 years at that club to hit the homegrown criteria. So for James Pradich, he's a young goalkeeper, Welsh Youth International with Preston North End at Deepdale, 58 rated, 18 years old. He's a third choice goalkeeper. He probably won't even play for us, but he hits that homegrown criteria. Why? Because he's trained in the nation, first and foremost, but because he's 18, and if he spends 3 years here, 3 consecutive years, up to 21, then he'll also be homegrown and trained by the club. Even though he didn't officially come through the academy, that's fine. Spends 3 years here, it will still hit that criteria. So, yeah, Pradich comes in, 58 rated. Basically, every single team nowadays has 3 first-team goalkeepers. Practically every single team has 3 first-team goalkeepers. So, we only had 2. You know, João Virginia is here. Pickford obviously our number 1, but that's it. So, I thought for realism, getting a third-choice goalkeeper is a really good idea. And obviously, one day we want to be back in Europe with the Toffees. The homegrown, trained at club criteria is going to be really important. Pradich, just by being here as a reserve, will meet that criteria if he spends 3 consecutive years there. Like I said, realism, aim of the game, so it just seems to make perfect sense. Anyway, so deadline day comes to an end. I'm happy with the squad and I'm happy with how it's looking. Very realistic, and we're improving gradually as time goes on, exactly what we want to do. And for the final game of today's episode here, first game outside the window, great start for the Toffees. Well, Pickford saving the penalty away at Molyneux, but what a clanger here. You live by Pickford, you die by Pickford. Jordan is a fantastic shot stopper, everyone knows that, and his distribution at times is top notch, but Everton fans will tell you that he's got a mistake in him. Oh, Jordan, how did he not save that? Terrible error from our new club captain. Should never have found the back of net, but he showed right before and right after the break exactly why that saying rings true. You live by Pickford, you die by Pickford. Distribution, top notch. Threads the needle here to start a breakaway. That's Jordan Pickford in a nutshell, man, this game. Absolutely incredible. So we're down by 2 goals, but 14 minutes to go. Kept ourselves alive. Like the game against Wolves, I'll be honest here, I wasn't playing very well, but I did get a late chance to possibly come back from 2-0 down to 11. Iliman Ndiaye, the Senegalese international, former Blade, hasn't had much game time since we signed him last season in the January window. Gets his first goal for the club, makes it 2-1, half deficit, and with 5 minutes to go, Damari Gray pegs it back, and Dwight McNeil got the assist for James Tarkowski's goal on the weekend against Arsenal, but they want that one back, no doubt about it. His wand of a left foot unfortunately let him down there. Yep, Wingardium Leviosa. It levitated way over the crossbar and behind for a goal kick. Does that make sense? I've never seen... Well, I've seen the first Harry Potter. Anyway, that would do it. We lost the game 2-1. It's our first defeat of the season. So back-to-back games without a win. 1 point from 6. But you know what? Away against Wolves and at home against good Newcastle side. Not concerned about that. 2 wins in our first 4 games in the top 6. You would have said to me at the start of the season you'll finish 5th. I would have bitten your hand off for it. So I'm not too concerned about those 2 games there. But that will end today's episode of the Realistic Career Mode, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. If you have, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you for the next episode of the Realistic Career Mode very soon.